the Bramble Jam Podcast.
This week on Yo Gavel Gavel, if your roommate's making the whole house smell like chemicals, can you sue him? Judge Mathis determines if there's a method to his madness.
And what happens if you rear-end a car but you claim it's not you? Judge Alex might pick you out of a line of real people.
Real cases,
Fake justice.
This is Yo Gavel Gavel! Yeah, we're here. We're in the chambers. We got our gavels. We got our robes. Could we be more official?
All rise.
Court's now in session.
That's exactly
Brandon
right.
and Dan here on your Friday pod listen. Yo Gavel Gavel.
The sleeves.
Woo! Yeah.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, Brandon. How
It
you
is
doing?
so good to see your
We don't
face.
talk enough.
We don't. And we don't watch enough courtroom.
I really don't think we watch enough.
No,
courtroom.
we need more. We
Yeah.
need more. Maybe
we
two
watched
weeks.
more before we started this podcast.
That's true. That's true. Well,
When
you don't
life,
want to. You know,
life was simple when it was just one podcast.
So true.
We could watch a couple eps a day.
No,
Now, not so much.
not so much. Now you have to make it work.
We got to make it count.
You got to make it count. Hi, everybody. It's great
Welcome
to see
to
you.
the gavel.
I hope that you've had a great week, and I hope that we can help start your weekend off strong.
That's right.
Dan, you were telling me earlier today about how many people are loving Bramble Jam Plus, and how next month, if you're an All Access member, you're going to get a special Yo Gavel Gavel bonus.
You are.
So
That's
tell
right.
people about that.
That's exactly right. In fact, I hear people all the time go, Yo Gavel Gavel is my favorite podcast, but I hate the ads. I understand that you hate the ads. There's a simple solution for this, BrambleJamPlus.com. At BrambleJamPlus.com, you can pay as little as $4 a month if you pay for a year, and you get all of our podcasts, including the Gavel and the Bayside and the History and the Deck the Hallmark and the My Year with Dolly and Fostering Hope. A dozen podcasts, all completely ad-free, $4 a month if you pay for a year. But if you want to keep up the ladder, you know what you get? Bramble Jam All Access. And in Bramble Jam All Access, you're going to get bonus content from several of our podcasts, including but not limited to Deck the Hallmark, History or His Story, this podcast, Yo Gavel Gavel, maybe a Back to Bayside, who knows, but you're going to get bonus content for paying at that level. So you go to BrambleJamPlus.com, get rid of the ads, get some bonus content, get a Gavel sticker. You get a Yo Gavel Gavel sticker. It's win-win-win. You deserve it. Go do it right now.
That's exactly right. And right now, we just, and we'll post this on the socials, but we had just launched our first shirt. You can get a Gavel Gavel shirt, just the logo, or you can get a Judy is my homegirl
Judy's
shirt,
my homegirl.
which I think is what we've all been wanting.
That's right.
In our lives. So please go check those out. Support the podcast however you can, even if it's just sharing us with a friend. That goes a long way
Rate,
as
review,
well.
share. Duh.
So do all those wonderful things. Dan, are you ready to dive into a couple of cases?
Ready to dive in.
For those of you, if it's your first time, it's very simple. I watched a case that Dan didn't watch. I'll explain it. Dan watched a case that I didn't watch. He'll explain it.
Yep.
We'll try to guess the outcome. Lots of fun. We would love for you to play along at home. Dan, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Go ahead. Who we got today?
Judge Mathis.
Ooh.
I love Judge Mathis.
Yeah, me too.
Because he always has some remark. It always is funny. He can make his bailiff laugh like nobody else. And Judge Mathis has his hands full today because we have Chelsea Alterman, who is suing her former roommate for a whopping, I hope you're sitting down, $146.
The stakes are high today.
They're so high. You cannot possibly get any higher than $146. The defendant, Boris Miroshnikov, is countersuing Chelsea for harassment and $1,500.
Okay, so for more.
That's right. The countersuit is over 10 times the amount of the original suit.
Sometimes
you want to know.
that's exactly right.
Let's dive in here.
Let's do it.
Chelsea was living in an apartment with 4 bedrooms. Okay. She was currently in a month-to-month situation. Lease had expired. She was month-to-month. New roommate comes in. She didn't meet the new roommate before he started because it was rented out by the landlord. And this guy, Boris, comes in. The first time she meets him, she says, is the day he moves in. And he comes in and he just says, hey, you can call me Bo. That's what you can call me. And she says living with Bo has been the worst experience of her life, singular worst experience of her life. That's why she's suing him for $146. So here's her claim. He moved in the same day he signed the lease. to start, she's in her room peacefully. He just opens the door of her room, slams in to introduce himself, and it went downhill from there. He never would leave the house, never, ever left the house. He would always weirdly pace back and forth. His eyes would look dead regularly. Sometimes he had a hard time speaking. He would cook things in the kitchen that smelled like chemicals. That's what he would do. And then he would make experimental art projects. Yeah. We don't get to dive in.
Now, is he cooking and using meth?
We don't know. And Judge Mathis never gets to the bottom of this, but he is more than willing to accept her testimony that he is, and this guy doesn't look right. He's got like long blonde hair, and a suit that doesn't quite match itself, and he doesn't look quite right. Okay. Like if Gerard Depardieu and a Bond villain,
sure,
had a teenage son that never grew up but was 26 anyway.
I love it.
That's perfect. Who this guy is.
Perfect.
And so she said he made experimental art projects. I don't know what these are. We didn't get to see any pictures, but they would get around the room and it was a mess. She basically says, I just stopped living there. I stayed at my boyfriend's house because I was scared to be in the house with him. And at this point, Judge Mathis comes in with a classic. He's like, "Oh, that's the only reason you stayed at your boyfriend's house, huh?"
Classic.
Like if it wouldn't have been for Bo, you'd have stayed at your own place. But you had to stay with your boyfriend. And she's like, "Well, I do love my boyfriend, so yeah, I would have stayed there anyway." And the bailiff gets a chuckle out of it. It's classic bailiff situation. Classic. So while she's gone, she says that her roommate says she has a written testimony. The roommate can't be with her in court. She has a written testimony that says her roommate was awakened in the middle of the night, heard screaming from one of the bedrooms at the bottom. She comes out, she goes and asks Bo if he's okay, and she didn't know if he was sleepwalking. It smelled like chemicals. His eyes were dead, and he just said, he reintroduced himself as Bo and then said he was okay.
Hi.
Judge Mathis says,
my name's Bo.
My name is Bo.
I'm okay.
I'm okay. How did you get Bo out of the apartment? Mathis asked. And Chelsea says, we didn't. We both moved out. He still lives there. So, have we gotten to the 146 yet? No, we haven't.
Okay.
But before we do, Mathis is going to turn his attention to Bo. To Bo, tell me your side of the story. Bo says, I moved into the apartment through a real estate company that booked it. I signed a 12-month lease. These two girls were month to month, and both told me they were leaving almost immediately. Chelsea says that's a lie. She pipes in and says that's a lie. So he says he's still living there. He only met her twice, but she made him really uncomfortable. She made him really uncomfortable. And Mathis says, how did she wear? You only saw her twice. How did she make you uncomfortable? Where? Well, Boris says when he met her the first time, she was wearing a very short shorts. Boris is European and effeminate. Let's just say that. She was wearing really short shorts and a little halter top, and was making these very weird sexual advances on him. I don't know what was going on. So when he says this, and this guy looks like he's never had a sexual advance made upon him in his life, and I'm not trying to be mean, but that's what he looks like. When and Chelsea looks sane and normal. When he says this, there is an audible laughter in the courtroom from the crowd that's supposed to be quiet. Audible laughs. And Mathis gets a chuckle and then gets a smirk on his face, and he goes, what made these sexual advances so weird? And Bo said she would lift her leg and her crotch was gyrating. And then said, that's not my preference, but if it was, it wouldn't be her. I guess intimating that he's gay and isn't into girls. And Mathis goes, now let me get this straight. You meet this girl for the first time, and as you're walking by, and he does from the bench, and he's wearing a robe. He lifts his leg in the air, and he's like, she does one of these, like this, just does that when you walk by. And Bo's like, yes. And the bailiff laughs and is clapping at this point. And as soon as I moved in, these things started happening.
Wait, so he is saying that she
made sexual advances.
Flashed him, basically.
That's right.
Down yonder.
And Mathis goes, was she wearing a skirt? He goes, no, it was short shorts. and she just was trying to show herself off.
What is she saying during all of
She
this?
is laughing. She basically is like, none of that happened. Like, it just didn't happen. And Matt's like, you got proof? He doesn't have proof. And then basically he goes, so what are you suing for? Is it the $1,500 harassment just for that? And he goes, no, she began sending threatening text messages to me about how I owed her money for utilities. I have a copy of those text messages. She's been sending them for 6 months.
Love it.
So Mathis is like, bring them on up. Great. So Chelsea, what are you suing for? $146. And Chelsea says, when he moved into the apartment, there was a verbal agreement. Then starting in March, we would split the utilities. So I was there for 1 month with him, and I Venmo requested him at the end of the month for gas, electricity, cable. He did not respond. Mathis says, was it a written agreement? She said, no, it was a verbal agreement. Then he agreed to pay for the utilities over text message. I have those text messages. I contacted him on 6 separate occasions asking for the money. He went from agreeing to paying to saying he wasn't going to give me anything. Mathis turns and goes, hey, you said you were going to pay for him. Why didn't you pay for him? He said, well, she started threatening me. I don't owe her the money because she started threatening me. Initially, I said I would pay. She started threatening. She started harassing me. In fact, she said she'd take me to court. And Mathis is like, well, she did. And then she got me into trouble with my landlord by contacting them. Apparently, Mathis says, do you have any proof she contacted your landlord? He says, no, I do not. And then he says, I'm missing an important meeting with housing court tomorrow morning because I had to come to Chicago from New York City for this court case. And I also am losing my New York City health benefits. Now, we don't know why he's losing his New York City health benefits or if Chelsea is involved, but that's what he says the harassment claim is. It's time for Judge Mathis to make his ruling.
Good night. How threatening are the texts? Do we get to read those? Do we get to see them?
Yeah, there are 6 occasions of text messages. They don't sound very threatening.
Man, all right. I mean, he did say he'd pay in written form. I don't know if that's legally binding or not. I don't know. We'll give her the money.
And nothing for him.
Nothing for him.
Yeah, you're right. Mathis, Bo says, I got to be back in New York City by 7:30 tomorrow morning. I don't think I'm going to make it. And Mathis cuts him off at the pass and goes, oh, you're going to make it. This is going to be real quick. He said, this is going to be over real quick. He reads the text that says you're going to pay. You agreed to pay it. So get out of here. Go back to New York City. Pay the money. And he's like, no, Your Honor, I didn't. And Judge Mathis stands up and starts to leave the courtroom. And he goes, you can go and get out of here. Pay the money. It's time to go. Don't miss your flight. We don't want you to miss your flight back to New York. Have a good one. And walks out. And that's the end of the case. And Judge Mathis rules in favor of Chelsea for $146. He really does.
Yeah.
Big Mathis.
Good for her.
Big Mathis.
Good for him.
Everybody wins.
Good for Bo. Bo hopefully gets back to New York.
Bo knows meth.
Bo knows. Hey, I'm going to do a Judge Alex.
Ooh.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to get to that
Judge
in just a second. But first, let's take a quick break.
Quick break.
We'll be right back.
Gavel, gavel.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
The Gavel you listen to Friday.
It is my turn, and we are going to go hang out with my good friend Judge Alex. Are you ready for this? Dan, let me introduce you to Megan Hennessy.
Hennessy. Got it.
And at one point, she does call herself Hawkeye Hennessy.
Hawkeye Hennessy.
So
that's what they call her.
You can look forward to that. She is suing for $3,410 for car damage and pain and suffering.
Okay.
She is suing Shantae. For a hit and run situation.
Hit and run.
All right. So Megan Hennessy, Hawkeye Hennessy, if you will, says that one morning she was driving to school. She's a med student, I think she's in nursing school or something like that. And she was getting on the freeway, and it's one of those freeways where you have to pay a toll on and off the on-ramp and the off-ramp. You know the kind.
Got it.
And so she's pulling up to the toll. She looks behind her, and she sees a gold Mercedes-Benz. And in the car,
a gold Mercedes-Benz.
Technically, it's punter, if you will.
Gold, made out of gold.
Well, no, it's gold color.
I got you.
And she looks behind her. She sees the car, the make and model, and she notices there's this girl in the car who's yelling, making a big fit, fit at the person who's
Making a big fit
in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I guess she's having a tough day, pays toll, gets on the freeway. And half a mile later, she comes upon some traffic, so she slows down. And what happens behind her? The punter Mercedes-Benz does not stop and rear ends her.
Okay.
Traffic standard.
Pretty cut and dry.
It happens. So they pull off into the median or the side there, out of the way of traffic.
Fire lane.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's waiting to see if anybody from the car is going to get out. And finally, after some waiting, the guy who she's just assuming is the boyfriend, this guy's not in court, we don't know who he is, gets out, and she's like, hey, do you have insurance? And he's like, yes, we have insurance. And she says, great, I have insurance too. Pretty cut and dry. So she goes back to get her insurance. When she comes back, she sees the punter Mercedes-Benz pulling off and leaving. So she's freaking out. Luckily, not pulling off very quickly because there's traffic. So she's able to get in her car. She's very frazzled. She writes down the license plate.
Great.
Okay. She calls the police, gives the police the license plate. And when the police go to find the car, it is not a punter Mercedes-Benz. It's another car. So she's like, I was frazzled, very thrown off. I must have jumbled it a little bit.
This is a weird one.
Okay.
It's a weird boy.
So Shantae says, got the wrong person. It is not me.
Wow.
The whole time she is saying, it's not me. Do I own a punter Mercedes-Benz? Yes. Do I have damage to the front of my car?
Oh my gosh.
Yes. But it's not me. And so we find Megan says, for most people, this would be the end. I got the wrong license plate. Nothing anybody can do about that. But I'm a redhead, and we don't give up.
Redheads don't give up.
And so Hawkeye Hennessy is on the case.
Hawkeye.
And for months, she has this theory that this person must live close to her. She's getting on this on-ramp, must live around there. I think it's likely that I will see this person again. Months go by. 4 months, in fact, go by. And it's at this point, there's a guy sitting next to Megan, and Alex is like, who's this? And she's like, this is my husband. Pulls the husband up. Husband, what did you think about your wife's
just dogged pursuit
to find this car? And he's like, it was borderline obsessive.
Wow.
It was a little overwhelming. I just wanted her to be happy. I just wanted it to be done.
Wow.
So 4 months go by. It's New Year's Eve. Okay. They are in his truck.
Got it.
Okay. They're pulling onto the on-ramp.
Same place.
She looks behind, and there is a gold Mercedes-Benz.
Oh my goodness.
With
damage in the
front. And Shantae's in it. And they get on and they let the car go in front so that they can follow. And she notices that the license plate, the last two numbers are switched from what she wrote down.
The correct license plate.
She had the correct license plate. She just jumbled the last two numbers.
The last two numbers.
They're just flipped. So she's like, this is the person.
Oh my goodness.
We got to go find this person. So Shantae is driving, and we finally get to hear from Shantae because at this point, up to this point, Shantae just said that didn't happen to me, so you can't ask her questions. It wasn't her. So Shantae says, I'm driving. I look behind me, and I notice when I change lanes, this truck behind me changes lanes. I go back to the other lane.
This is wild.
So I get off because I'm going to a friend's house for New Year's Eve.
Yep.
I get off on the exit, and they get off on the exit. And so at this point, I am starting to believe that this person is following me. And so I'm driving faster. I'm weaving in and out of traffic. They're doing the same thing. They're catching up to me. Finally, I'm able to basically at a red light pull through. They don't.
Yeah.
I'm able to pull into somebody's yard. They lose me basically. So Alex says, Shantae, there's a lot of coincidences here. You have damage to the front of your car. Your license plate, the last two numbers are switched from what on the police report. We have a police report saying that she did this. How did you get damage to your car?
Oh, boy.
And she said, well, I wasn't a hit and run, but I wasn't the one that ran.
Somebody hit the front of her car and ran?
I pulled into a Burger King parking lot. Someone backed up very quickly, damaged the front of my car. They pulled off.
Does she have a police report?
She does have a police report. This incident did indeed happen.
Wow.
But when they show the person who pulled out, the hit and run, they finally find this person, contact them. They show pictures of the front of the car. They say, hey, would how you backed up have created this damage?
Who did this?
The police. This is in the police report. Yeah. They contacted the guy. Hey, is the damage consistent with like how fast were you backing up? And he's like, oh, I barely tapped her.
Wow.
So.
Oh my goodness.
Alex says, Shantae, do you have insurance? She says no. Shantae, do you have a driver's license? She says no. And Alex says, Shantae, those are the reasons why someone would flee a rear ending. And she's like, I understand, but it wasn't me. There's lots of coincidences here. I was in a hit and run. I was hit. It was not me. And Alex is like, all right, it's time to rule.
Call me hit and run. It wasn't me. Because of Punter.
Wasn't me.
Here's the deal. Having Judge Alex on this show has shaded my opinion of what's going to happen here. Any other judge but Judge Alex, any other judge on a TV court show, I think that all the money, at least for the car and the damages, goes to old Hawkeye. The problem is that I know Judge Alex. We've talked. And Judge Alex says he goes in beforehand and he reads the law and he determines what to do based upon the law. And the problem is that there is no police report of any kind that shows a gold Mercedes-Benz hit and ran Hawkeye's car. It doesn't exist.
Well, so there's a police report. The police report just has her words, but the license plate that she gave him was incorrect.
Incorrect.
Right. So it is on record that it happened, but just her words, not an actual.
So it's a she said, she said. Yes. And I think Judge Alex is going to not look very kindly on that. And unfortunately, he's going to say, hey, I agree, you should get the money. I do think she did this, but I can't find her at fault, especially for the pain and suffering. Maybe she gets a bit of money for the car. You know what? I'll go with she gets the money for the car. I think Alex is going to give her nothing, but I can't not give her the money for the car. Money for the car. Okay. No pain and suffering.
Alex is here for surprises today.
Wow.
Alex says, Shantae, A, there's too many coincidences, so I think you did it. B, the police report about your hit and run says that the damage to the front of your car is inconsistent with someone backing up and hitting you. Because of that, I think you did it. She's getting all the money, including the pain and suffering, and she could have asked for more.
Wow. Man.
Gives her all the money.
I'm happy. I'm happy that Judge Alex did it. I'm just surprised.
Yeah.
That's all. It's a surprise gavel.
It's a surprise gavel. Surprise gavel. Guys, we did it. Two cases. Man, that was a fun one.
That was a fun one.
I love that one. That was fun to watch. Before I watched this one, I was on YouTube and I watched what I thought was going to be a full case. It was only half a case and the YouTube video ended with no resolution. And that's sometimes what happens when you gavel.
Sometimes you gavel hard.
Sometimes you gavel hard. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing us with your friends. Thanks for leaving the reviews. Thanks for gaveling with us.
Thanks for gaveling.
And I hope this weekend, as you head into your weekend and you're thinking about things to do, I hope that you gavel and you gavel real good.
Yeah.
Gavel, baby, gavel. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Until then.
All rise.
Gavels in town.
Yo Gavel Gavel is a Bramble Jam podcast recorded live in Greenville, South Carolina at the Bramble Jam Podcast Network Studios. It's produced by Brandon Gray. For more information, you can go to bramblejampodcast.com/gavel.